Hi, welcome to my video on Chicago stuffed pizza, or Chicago style stuffed pizza. What I'm going to do here is start off with the dough. This is a stuffed pizza, not to be confused with a deep dish pizza. This is actually going to be 2 layers of crust, a bottom layer, then you're going to fill it up with cheese, and then you're going to put another top layer, and you're going to put it in a deep pan, about 2-inch deep. So right now let's just get started with the dough. First thing I got here is I have my yeast mixture. You're going to go for a cup of warm water and a teaspoon and a half of yeast, along with half a teaspoon of sugar. Now I've already done my little mixture here, and you don't necessarily have to wait for the yeast to froth or anything like that. I'm actually looking at it, it's starting to bubble a little bit. I know it's activated. Some cases you could actually take the yeast and add it directly to the flour and then stir it in with the flour, then add the water afterwards if that's what you want to do. But I like to do it off to the side to make sure that the yeast is actually activated. And it starts to bubble a little bit. I know it's working. Cool. So let's go ahead and take our flour here, and we're going to do 3 cups of flour in our bowl here. Clean this out real quick. And I'm just using a general all-purpose flour. Actually, I'm using King Arthur flour. That stuff's pretty good. I wouldn't recommend using any type of bread flour or anything like that because it's got too many glutens in it, and you're really not going to be working the glutens in this dough at all. It's going to be a kind of a heavier dough, but when I say heavier, I don't want you to think it's going to be like a lump in your stomach. It's not going to be good. It's actually a very, very, very tasty dough. I'm going to do 3 cups of this. And fill up to the top and then do the, what do you call it, the sift method. I'll take off the top there. Alright, this is going to be a very oily dough, as you will see. Again, it's not good. This is not the health conscious pizza dough, let me tell you. So if you're looking to cut back on calories or whatever, this isn't for you. But don't be scared by all the oil and stuff that I put in here. It's going to taste very, very, very good if you do it the way that I'm doing it. I'm doing this with my hands. My hands are clean. One of the other things you're going to need, forgot to grab the salt, is some kosher salt. We're going to put in a teaspoon and a half of kosher salt. So here's a teaspoon. Here's half a teaspoon. Alright. Mix it all up around here like that. Here's my hands are clean. Okay. And now what we're going to do is I like to create like a little well in here in the center. We're going to go ahead and add our water and yeast mixture right in. Okay. Now we're going to add in a 1/3 of a cup of canola oil. Okay. And gee, I can't remember. My thought is no good. Did I say in the yeast mixture a cup of warm water, a teaspoon and a half of yeast, and a half a teaspoon of sugar? If I'm repeating myself, I apologize. So we're going to put about a teaspoon and a half of olive oil in there. Alright. And the last thing here is I got 2 tablespoons of Crisco. This is a block of Crisco. And this is going to give it a really, really nice texture. This is actually butter flavored. It doesn't really matter. I like to do the butter flavored if I'm going to sort of like make the dough today and then turn around and make the pizza today. Usually what I do is if I use plain, I will mix this all up and then make it into a ball and then put it in the fridge overnight for flavoring. But I don't have that kind of time, so I'm going to make this all today. I'm fortunate enough to own a KitchenAid mixer. If you're not, it's okay. This doesn't require a lot of kneading and mixing, like I said. The whole purpose of kneading like regular pizza dough is to work the glutens and it gives it its stretchiness and its buoyancy and its chewiness. And this is not what you're going for with this. Again, It may seem like a heavy dough, but it's not going to be heavy dough. You actually kind of need, I think, a little bit more heaviness to it because we're going to be putting a lot of cheese in this thing. There's a reason why they call this stuffed. So we got a KitchenAid mixer, just put it on the dough hook, and I put it on 2, and you're basically just going to mix it all up until it's all accumulated, it's all together. So you're not going to do a lot of kneading. Especially helps with the Crisco. If you're going to be using it by hand, just stir it until all the contents are together. So you don't need to do a lot of kneading. Maybe dust the countertop with a little bit of flour. And once we do that, we're going to go ahead and put it back in the bowl and cover it up with plastic. And we're going to let it proof. And we're going to get to it's about double in size or just slightly under, which will probably take about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. We're going to punch it down and either transfer it to the fridge for overnight, or if you want, punch it down again, let it go for another half an hour. And that's basically making the dough. Okay, now we're moving on to our pizza sauce here. Now, what I like to do here for a Chicago stuffed pizza, go for a chunkier style sauce. You could probably buy like a can of whole peeled tomatoes and crush them with your hands and make it chunkier, but you probably have to buy about at least 2 cans, maybe even 3. What I do is I buy 2 cans of crushed tomatoes, and I use just a regular old strainer and just kind of shake them out to get most of the puree out of there to give us more of a chunkier style sauce. Again, my hands are clean here, so not a lot of puree in there. Those are tasty. Okay, so I've already just tested them for salt, so they don't really need any salt. I like to go with just the crushed tomatoes. Any brand really that just has tomatoes, puree, salt, and citric acid. I don't like anything else. Alright, so we're going to add in about 3/4 of a tablespoon of, I got whole oregano, but I like to crush it and break it down in my hands like this, which is what I'm doing, if you can see that there. And add that. Okay. I'm going to add in just a little bit of sugar. I'd say this is about maybe a teaspoon of regular sugar. Some coarse ground black pepper. It gives it a little bit of a bite. Not too much, just a little bit. And last but not least, a small clove of crushed garlic. Just gonna get in there and crush it. Now if you want to slice it up, that's fine. I guess I like to crush it though. Get another crusher. I just like to double crush it. Get as much of that out of there as I can. Okay. Alright. And that's pretty much it. And we're just going to stir this all up. And so this is going to be very, very chunky. Sometimes I may add a little bit of olive oil to it, but in this case, lately I haven't been doing that. It's just, I don't know. So, here's the thing. Like I said, I'm going to make this pizza at the same time that I'm prepping everything today. Usually what I do with these tomatoes is I take them and I cover them up and I put them in the fridge overnight. It really, really, really enhances the flavoring of these things. In this case, I think what I'm going to do is, in a short time period, I think I'm going to put them in the freezer maybe. Just to try to bring out some of that flavor, because trust me, it's really, I mean, right now, I can do a little taste test here. It'll taste pretty good, but it's going to taste a lot better since I'm the only one eating this pizza. Well, whatever, I'll use the dirty spoon. Sort of defeats the purpose of having clean hands, right? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put them in the fridge for at least a couple hours. Forget the freezer. And I'm going to put these on top of my pizza. Oh, shoot. You know what I forgot to add? There's one thing I forgot to tell you, and I can't believe I forgot. Parmesan. I'm going to add some Parmesan cheese to this. I don't have it ready, but you'll see that when I put it on later. I like to add the Parmesan directly to the tomatoes, and that will really bring out the flavors as well. as opposed to putting it on right before baking. I like putting it right in there so it bakes in there with the tomatoes and also ferments in there with the tomatoes as well. Can't believe I forgot that. So the last thing would be about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of grated Parmesan. And I'm talking finely grated, not that long stringy grated. Okay? The next thing will be assembling the pie and putting it in the oven and finishing it off.